My cheating wife made me rich. My wife used the family savings to invest in stocks without telling me. After suffering a loss, he threw himself directly into the arms of his wealthy childhood friend. But what she didn't know was that the stock she gave up had skyrocketed in price. And I, after taking over that stock account, became a billionaire. After the wife knew about it, she immediately changed her words. "Hubby, I sold my body for you, but now you want to abandon me? Don't you want to experience being pregnant?" The fun starts right away. If you like it, remember to click to subscribe. If a man has no money, not only his wife but even his own parents will look down on him. I deeply understand this sentence. Every time my salary is delayed, my wife Sophia always scolds me impatiently. Not only are they not good in bed, they are also not good at their personal work. What should I do with my mortgage? What about my car loan? And my facial masks and foundation? The contempt in his eyes pierced my heart like a thorn, but I had no way to do anything. The current economic environment is not good, and delayed salary payment has become the social norm. But I can't explain these things to Sophia. In her mind, a man's responsibility is to earn money and support the family, while she only needs to be beautiful. I agree with her point of view. After all, she is really beautiful. I worked so hard to marry her, wasn't it just to support her? After get off work, I always find some part-time job to supplement the family income. And Sophia is my biggest motivation to make money. But the little money I earned seemed so fragile and ridiculous under the temptation of David's money. It happened to be Sophia's birthday, and David, who I hadn't contacted for a long time, suddenly wanted to treat me and my wife to dinner. He was Sophia's childhood friend, and I couldn't refuse, so I had to bring Sophia with me to accept the invitation. But when I got there, I found out that he had booked the entire high-end hotel to celebrate Sophia's birthday. Dozens of chefs served us individually, with unlimited supply of abalone, lobster, and king crab, and a specially customized black swan cake. This luxurious experience stunned Sophia and I. I was a little nervous and asked, "These decorations must be expensive, right?" David glanced at me with a half-smile, then said nonchalantly, "Not much. As long as Sophia is happy, I'm willing to spend as much as possible." As he spoke, he took out a limited-edition Chanel bag from the side and handed it to Sophia, saying it was a birthday present for her. "I've wanted this bag for a long time, David, you're so nice." Sophia was so touched that she spoke in a very sweet voice without any hesitation. The two of them began to talk enthusiastically, leaving me, their husband, aside. I feel really bad. In this scene, it was as if David was her husband. After dinner, Sophia insisted on taking David's car home, saying that she wanted to reminisce about the past. David agreed readily and said to me embarrassedly, "Sorry, Michael, my car only has 2 seats, so..." 2 seats? I was surprised, but when I got downstairs, I was surprised to find that it really was a 2-seater and a newly released limited edition supercar. It has beautiful streamlined car body, carbon fiber hood, and is full of the sour smell of money. Compared to it, my low-end Santana is like one is stone and the other is gold. At that moment, I was silent. For the first time, I realized that the life of rich people is so extravagant that ordinary people like me can never imagine. The emperor-like enjoyment is not just a joke. In the end, Sophia excitedly got into David's supercar and left without looking back. I waited for her at home for more than 3 hours before she walked into the house with a look of reluctance. While changing her shoes, she kept exclaiming how nice David was and that this was the happiest birthday she had ever had. I muttered in dissatisfaction, "Why did you come back so late?" Sophia's expression immediately changed, and she spoke to me in a tone full of disgust and disdain. "What's wrong with coming back late? Look at what David arranged, and then look at you. You just give me a cheap cake every year to perfunctorily deal with me. The salary you earn is useless. You can't earn as much in your entire life as what David earns in one day from stock trading. I was really blind to marry you." In Sophia's words, I became a completely useless man. She has no money and no substance, and she tramples on the dignity of a man. I looked at her in disbelief, and suddenly a sentence came to my mind. When men have money, they are tested. When women have no money, they are tested. Actually, I didn't agree with this statement before. Because I always firmly believe that as long as the feelings between husband and wife are deep, they can always overcome all difficulties. But now, Sophia's changes have shaken me. And from that day on, Sophia always went out early and came back late. She dresses up beautifully every day and goes out, and comes back very late, smelling of cigarettes and alcohol. I plucked up the courage to ask her what she was doing, and she frowned and spoke to me impatiently. "Go make some money." Do you still count on a loser like you? Don't bother me. One sentence left me speechless. After hesitating for a long time, I tried to reason with her and told her that our life is pretty good now. I have a car, a house, and savings. Although I am not rich, life is always full of ups and downs. But who would have thought that Sophia would get angry and throw the bag to the ground? If you don't want to make progress yourself, don't bother me. I've had enough of this kind of life of plain food and drink. Michael, don't blame me for speaking harshly. A man who has no ability is a fucking coward who can't even keep his wife. After she finished speaking, she picked up her bag and slammed the door, leaving only her last words echoing in my mind over and over again. Without money, you are a loser. As if to confirm what she said, Sophia didn't come back for many days. I called her countless times, but received no response. I sent her many text messages, but received no response. I thought she might still be angry, so I gritted my teeth and used my private savings to buy her a gold necklace. But before I could go to her company to apologize to her, I saw David's latest updates on WeChat Moments. The best clothes and accessories are only suitable for the most beautiful you. The accompanying picture shows David and a beautiful woman kissing passionately on the streets of Taikuli. The beauty was wearing an Armani long dress, a Vacheron Constantin watch, and a string of blue diamond earrings. Standing together with David, they have similar temperaments, a perfect match. But I was stunned. Because this beauty is my wife Sophia. I looked at it carefully over and over again in disbelief, trying to find something unreasonable. But alas, no matter which angle you look at it from, this is my wife, Sophia. The phone slipped from my palm and fell to the ground with a thud, but I didn't feel anything. Only anger and bitterness filled my heart. It turns out that my previous guesses were all true. Women are really put to the test when they have no money. And what Sophia said is true. I have no money and I really can't keep her. Looking at the gold shop gift box on the table, I suddenly felt that everything had lost its meaning. I picked up the phone with a shattered screen, gritted my teeth and sent a message to Sophia. Divorce, Sophia. After sending it, I felt like I had lost all my strength and collapsed in my chair. I grabbed my hair in annoyance, and an unprecedented impulse arose in my heart. I want to make money, I want to make a lot of money. Why can David make money by trading stocks, but I can't? I want to take back everything I lost. I know stock trading is not an easy thing. Otherwise, there wouldn't be so many people who lose their fortunes due to stock speculation, or even jump off buildings out of desperation. So I didn't rush to choose stocks or open an account to invest money. Instead, I first searched for a lot of information on the internet and also consulted many friends who knew about stock trading. What our predecessors said does make some sense. As time goes by, my understanding of stock trading has become deeper and deeper. Know what adding positions and leverage mean, and when to sell and when to buy. Gradually, I became more and more confident in my ability to make money. Sophia and David came back unexpectedly. It was as if she had already anticipated that I would divorce her and had even prepared the agreement. Sign it. I don't want any of the deposit. I'll leave it all to you. This is different from before when she dressed herself up beautifully and pretended to be a socialite. Sophia really looked like a celebrity at this moment, covered in jewels and gems, and her every move was calm and elegant. After 5 years of marriage, I suddenly felt that she was very strange. Her pretentious attitude makes me feel extremely disgusted. I signed without hesitation. But Sophia didn't leave. She glanced at the book about stock trading I had placed on the table and suddenly said sarcastically, "Michael, come on, you want to learn how to trade stocks? Why don't you take a piss and look at yourself to see if you are worthy enough? Face the reality. No matter how hard you try, you will never be able to reach David's toes." It seemed like she was thinking about me, but she did not hide her disgust and disdain in her eyes. I suppressed my anger and pointed at the door. "Get out." Sophia's face froze. David, who was waiting outside the door, might have heard our conversation. He hurried in, held Sophia in his arms, and comforted her softly. Don't be angry, Sophia. Be careful not to get pregnant." "Michael, how could you do this to Sophia? She is your ex-wife after all. I even wanted our child to recognize you as his godfather." This sentence exploded in my mind like a bolt from the blue, and everything went blank. Sophia is pregnant. We have been married for 5 years and have wanted to have a child countless times, but Sophia has never agreed. But she was pregnant with David's child at this moment. David's eyes were full of teasing and pride. He glanced at me who was standing there in a daze, and then suddenly sighed. "Michael, I'm not unreasonable. I understand that you're feeling bad. How about this? If you have any questions about stock trading in the future, just come and ask me. I will definitely take good care of my ex-husband. After saying this, he took Sophia in his arms and walked out of the house. Faintly, I heard the unrestrained laughter coming from their mouths. It was like a sharp knife stabbing into my chest. Ah! Tears flowed uncontrollably, and I went crazy and smashed and threw away everything about Sophia. The back of my hand was bleeding, but it was not even 1/10 the pain in my heart. After a long while, I squatted on the ground with my head in my hands in pain. The house was a mess, and everything that belonged to Sophia and me was gone. At this moment, my desire to make money is stronger than ever. Because only in this way can I change my destiny. Over the next few days, I calmed myself down, and a strong sense of unwillingness drove me to work harder to learn more about stock trading. I even paid my friends who made money by stock trading to help me vote. After everything was ready, I took out the passbook at home and prepared to withdraw money to open an account. But what I never expected was that all the hard-earned money I had saved over the years was gone. The withdrawal time shown by the bank was exactly when Sophia went to Taikuli last time. Only Sophia and I know the password, so there is no doubt that the money was withdrawn by Sophia. I called her angrily and asked her where the money went. But she just sneered, "Why do you care about me? We are divorced, don't harass me." The busy tone sounded. I suddenly understood why Sophia didn't care about the family savings when signing the divorce agreements. Since she had already spent all her savings, she naturally didn't care. But this money is all my savings. I sat dejectedly on the sofa, feeling the whole world plunged into darkness. My money is gone, and my chance to turn things around is over before it even begins. It's all over. Is God playing a trick on me? Why can't you give me a chance to turn things around? Why? I sat in the living room for a whole night, with cigarette butts all over the floor, but I still couldn't figure out the problem. The next morning, my parents called me anxiously, advising me not to do anything stupid and saying that the money from selling the house had already been transferred to Sophia. I was stunned. When did I say I was going to do something stupid? And when did my parents sell the house in their hometown? Where do they live now? When I asked, my mother hesitated for a long time and sighed. "Michael, Sophia told us that you owed money from gambling outside. Don't blame her. The money your father and I have worked hard to save for half our lives, as well as the money from selling the house, have already been transferred to Sophia. You too can use it to pay off the debt. Don't do anything stupid. Your father and I only have you as our son. If anything happens to you." Before I could finish my words, I heard my mother crying from the other side. My eyes couldn't help but turn red. Sophia cheated on me and betrayed me, and even took away all my savings. But she actually cheated my parents out of their pension money. Is she still human? My parents used to treat her like their own daughter, and they thought she was more important than me, their son. How could she bear it? I couldn't help but clench my fists. I couldn't help but tell my parents everything. Their son does not gamble and never will. The only one who was wrong was Sophia. When I hung up the phone, I was already in tears, and my parents' caring words kept echoing in my mind. Indeed, when you have no money, your parents will look down on you and blame you for being incompetent. But at critical moments, they are always your strongest support. Compared with that marriage certificate, blood ties can never be severed. Looking at my haggard face in the mirror, I gritted my teeth and regained my confidence. I sold the gold necklace I bought for Sophia, and also sold a lot of furniture and accessories at low prices. With a deep hatred for Sophia, I walked into the door of the financial company. I have nothing left. If I succeed this time, I can make a complete comeback. If it fails. But, is there any worse outcome than now? But once again, things turned out to be beyond my expectations. It was as if God was watching me specifically, causing Sophia to constantly cause me trouble. My expensive consultant suddenly told me that my account had been registered. And the registration time is not long, it is the same time as Sophia withdraws deposits. Thinking back to that time when Sophia suddenly asked me for my ID card, I had some guesses. I suppressed my anger and called Sophia again, wanting to ask her why she used my information. But before I could say anything, Sophia started cursing. "Michael, did you know that David is bankrupt and you came here to mock me? Dream on. You despicable person." I was stunned. David went bankrupt? Just at this moment, the consultant who had just changed my password scratched his head and curled his lips at me. "Mr. Michael, a big shot like you shouldn't joke with a small character like me." I was stunned for a moment, and immediately saw the string of numbers in my account. The 9-digit balance made me feel suffocated. "Mr. Michael, the 100 million in your account. My mind was buzzing and I didn't hear what the consultant said next. But Sophia on the other end of the phone heard it. After a long silence, Sophia's voice suddenly turned flattering. Honey, is he talking about the stock account I registered for you? Is there really 100 million in it? Well, actually I wanted to give you a surprise. Since you already know it, I'll tell you the truth. I lurked around David, sold my body, and even got pregnant with his child, all for the sake of learning how to trade stocks. Now we're making money. Husband, please come and take me home, I miss you so much. The title of husband sounds so ironic at this moment. In the 5 years we've been married, I can count on my hands the number of times Sophia has called me this. This time, I got goosebumps when I heard it. Looking at the balance in the account, I suddenly sneered, get lost. We are divorced, don't disgust me. Then I hung up the phone. Idiot, still lurking? You've watched too many movies. You take me for a fool. And I took a look at the transaction details. Ever since Sophia invested money, the market has basically been in the red. It was obvious that she abandoned the account immediately after realizing that something was wrong. But she never expected that the huge turbulence in the stock market some time ago caused the stocks she invested in to soar. But David, the stock market tycoon, suffered a setback and went bankrupt. How ridiculous. Now all this money is mine and has nothing to do with her. After all, it was clearly written in the divorce agreement that she didn't want a single cent. Putting down my phone, I immediately put Sophia out of my mind and began to confirm the huge amount of wealth in my account over and over again. I always feel like I'm dreaming. Is it that easy to become a billionaire? It doesn't seem real. Then, I couldn't wait to transfer out a balance. When I saw the notification that the money had arrived, I breathed a sigh of relief. It's true, I have completely turned things around, and I can finally control my own destiny. I was in such a good mood that I directly rewarded the consultant with 10 times the consulting fee. Under his attentive and envious gaze, he walked out of the door of the financial company with his head held high. With a huge sum of money in hand, I was able to completely let go. High-end custom-made suits, Rolex watches, and the latest sports cars were all purchased in full. A suit makes the man, and a saddle makes the horse. I changed out of my old clothes that I had been reluctant to throw away for several years, and I feel like a new person. Looking in the mirror, I am a successful person with a successful career. There was even a charming and seductive salesperson who hooked my palm and left a small note. It had her contact information and measurements on it. My heart was moved. This unprecedented experience made me feel like ants were crawling inside, itching unbearably. I winked at her, but threw the note into the trash can when I went out. Because I am a person with severe mysophobia, I am not interested in this kind of low-end bus. After some shopping outside, I went straight home. But what I didn't expect was that as soon as I entered the house, I smelled the aroma of food outside the kitchen. Then, Sophia came out of the kitchen wearing an apron. She was stunned when she saw me wearing all branded clothes and holding a bunch of things in my hands. After a moment, he walked towards me with a gentle look on his face. My dear husband, you are back. Go wash your hands and have dinner. I stared in amazement as she squatted down to find slippers for me and helped me put them on. Like a good wife and mother, she took a bunch of gift bags from me. I rubbed my eyes, thinking I was hallucinating. How come she is here? Shouldn't she be with David? While I was stunned, Sophia had already brought the food to the table. Seeing that I hadn't come over yet, she smiled charmingly, took out the hot towel she had prepared, walked up to me and said coquettishly, "Hubby, you've worked hard these years. You used to serve me. Today, it's my turn to serve you. I'm sure you'll feel more comfortable than being an emperor." She wiped my face gently and winked at me with a sweet smile. It was the first time I saw her so enthusiastic. She was several times more enthusiastic than when we first got married. But I didn't feel the slightest ripple in my heart, instead I felt a little disgusted. It seems that I am not hallucinating, but Sophia is living in a dream. I grabbed her wrist and said coldly, "Miss, do we know each other? Get out of here right now, or I'll call the police." I thought what I said was cruel enough. Always able to make Sophia face reality and get out of here. Unexpectedly, she just rubbed the wrist that was hurt by my pinch, and came up to me again in a flattering manner. "Hubby, you really misunderstood me. I divorced you just to let you know how to make progress. Even when I was with David, I kept thinking about you. You must believe me." She hugged my arms and acted coquettishly, and her chest, which had grown again due to pregnancy, wrapped my arms tightly. I pushed her away and even made her stagger. "Don't touch me, it's dirty." Sophia leaned on the table, her face uncertain. But soon, she returned to her tearful look. There was such a pitiful look on her beautiful face that would make anyone feel distressed. But unfortunately, I am a person with a heart of stone. Sophia, stop pretending. We've slept in the same bed for 5 years, don't I know what kind of person you are? Let's not talk about the fact that you took away all my savings and cheated my parents out of their retirement money, let's just talk about your pregnancy. What's with that kid? Did it pop out of a crack in a rock? Or can you reproduce asexually? Sophia's face froze instantly, and she opened her mouth several times, not knowing how to start. She was so anxious that beads of cold sweat appeared on her forehead. I sneered and pushed her out the door. Get out, hurry up, don't pollute the air in my house. Sophia still wanted to struggle, but how could she be stronger than a man like me? She was getting closer and closer to the door. But at this time, Sophia actually knelt on the ground and begged bitterly. Hubby, I know I was wrong, please forgive me, okay? I will make it up to you in the future. By the way, husband, I haven't divorced David yet. I am still someone else's wife. Don't you want to have a taste of what it's like to have someone else's wife? Besides, I'm still pregnant, you can still. When Sophia said this, I was shocked. I thought I knew her well enough, but I didn't expect her shamelessness to exceed the bottom line of my understanding of her. I suddenly regained my composure and asked her calmly. You came here to find me, or to seduce me, aren't you afraid that David will be angry if he finds out? Sophia was stunned, as if she remembered something, and said quickly. It doesn't matter. He has already jumped off the building. He can't die anymore. Don't worry, husband. No one will gossip about you. Tonight you can make him wear a green hat that he will never be able to take off. As she spoke, Sophia seemed to find this particularly exciting, and even her eyes began to show a strong sense of spring. She stood up, her eyes seductive, and began to rub her body against mine, her fingers sliding on my body. Then, she smiled charmingly. And slowly took off his clothes. The air gradually became hotter and the whole living room was filled with an ambiguous atmosphere. Sophia licked her lips lightly, and an alluring low moan came from her mouth. Honey, I'm so soft now, do you want to try it? My face was full of disgust and I said in a low voice. Try, taste this disgusting piece of fat of yours? Get out of here. As I was talking, I opened the door and pushed her out. They were all thrown outside the door along with the clothes. Leaning against the door, I heard Sophia's exclamation, but I let out a deep breath, feeling relieved. To be honest, I couldn't bear it anymore. When Sophia told me that she hadn't divorced David yet and asked me to touch her, I felt so sick. When we first had our conflict, Sophia started having an affair with David. Now that David is dead, she actually wants to do it all over again? Dream on. I didn't feel any stirring in my heart, but rather felt cold all over. But I didn't expect that David actually died, and he jumped off the building. Could it be that he couldn't bear the blow of bankruptcy and couldn't get over it? I couldn't figure it out, so I shook my head and put it out of my mind. Sophia was still banging on the door, and it seemed like she was unwilling to be kicked out by me. But this time she didn't beg for my forgiveness, but asked me to give her some money. She said that she invested the money and she should have a share. I sneered to myself, ignored her, and directly took out my phone to report Jay. He broke into my house and harassed me at the door. I am not a violent person, so of course I will seek public help. The police arrived very quickly and were at my doorstep in less than 10 minutes. But they seemed to know Sophia and called out her name. Why are you here? Didn't you tell us that you were going to take care of your husband's funeral? Sophia's eyes were a little evasive. I looked at her in surprise, not understanding what was going on. After my inquiry, the police explained the whole story. It turns out that Sophia was by David's side when he jumped off the building. No witnesses said David committed suicide, so Sophia has not ruled out the suspicion until now. Sophia just cried and said that she was going to take care of David's funeral. The police thought that she and David were husband and wife and the possibility of her committing the crime was low, so they let her go. I ended up meeting her at the door of my house. Now that the truth was clear, I looked at Sophia in confusion and told the police everything she had done, letting them make their own judgment. Sophia was still being stubborn, saying that she was the one who paid for it, so why shouldn't I share the profits from stock trading with her? She asked the police to make the decision for her. The police, who had seen our divorce certificate, didn't know whether to laugh or cry. I had to give her some legal knowledge. Eventually, she was taken away by the police again. Not long after, the police suddenly came to me to find out some basic information and asked me about the relationship between Sophia and David. I told them the truth directly, saying that Sophia had cheated on her and David was her lover. There wasn't much affection between the two of them to begin with. One was attracted by beauty, and the other was attracted by money. The policeman seemed to be thinking about something and hesitated for a while before telling me that there had been some progress in the investigation into David's death and that it was very likely that he was murdered. In other words, Sophia is highly suspected of committing the crime. This made me break out in a cold sweat on my back. I suddenly wasn't sure if what I had learned before was all there was to know about Sophia. Before David showed up, she often made sarcastic remarks about me, complaining that I couldn't make money and that I was a coward. But he never did anything out of the ordinary. Now the police suddenly told me that David might have been killed by Sophia. My first reaction was that it was impossible. How could she, a little woman, be so bold as to kill David? What was her motive? But when I think back to when she talked about David's death, she didn't care and even tried to seduce me. My thoughts were somewhat shaken. For several days in a row, all I could think about was this matter, and it bothered me for a long time. I couldn't figure it out, so I gritted my teeth and decided to go out and relax. The first stop is my hometown. I couldn't make money before, so when I went back to my hometown, the older generation would always ask me how I was doing outside and how much I made. When they know that I only get such a low salary every month, they will immediately say that I am not as good as that guy from so-and-so family who is a company boss and contractor and earns tens of thousands every month. So gradually, I went home less and less. But now that I have money in my pocket and I feel more confident, of course I have to go back and see if they still ask me questions. As soon as I flew to my hometown, I went straight to the 4S store and bought a top-of-the-line Land Rover for my dad. With the help of money, the new car and license plate were soon ready. I bought soft zhonghua and hitiangxia in cartons, and I also bought a few boxes of wuliangye and mitai. The trunk was stuffed to the brim. When I drove my Land Rover back to the village, the old people on the street were stunned. They thought a leader had come to inspect the village. But I didn't stop, I drove straight back home. After all, it's better to leave this kind of face-showing thing to my parents, they will be very happy too. My parents have redeemed the house in their hometown, and the old couple are living a happy life recently. When they saw that I was the only one in the car, they looked stern and asked me why I didn't bring a girlfriend back. Then he pulled me out of the car and left me aside. They happily touched this and that on the car, as if the Land Rover was their son. I smiled and didn't care, as long as they were happy. During the few days I stayed at my hometown, my mother had something to do. Every day she showed off to the villagers how rich and capable her son was. Finally, she even posted a marriage announcement. Find me a wife. I was so shocked that I packed my bags and prepared to run away. But what I didn't expect was that before I could run away, my mother actually found a suitable one. The key point is that I know this person, she is my high school classmate, Ava. Unlike the buck-toothed girl I had in mind, Ava turned out to be a completely different person, so beautiful. Her hair is waist-length and her delicate face is lightly made up, looking fresh and elegant. Maybe it's because she's a teacher in school, she has an aura that makes people want to get close to her. I admit that I was tempted, so I put my luggage aside and decided not to run away. Fortunately, I was not the only one who had this idea. Ava also opposed my getting close to her, and our relationship became more and more ambiguous. A month later, the police sent me news again, saying that the murderer of David had been found. But contrary to my expectation, this person was not Sophia. But it was the gigolo that Sophia kept outside. I was already immune to what she did, so I wasn't surprised. But the police's subsequent words still made me smile bitterly. It turns out that although David is rich, his body can't last more than a few seconds and cannot satisfy Sophia. Later, Sophia couldn't bear it anymore and started a boyfriend outside. It just so happened that David went bankrupt from stock trading, and went home early to discuss with Sophia how to get through the difficult period. Unexpectedly, this time, David discovered their affair. More importantly, he discovered a truth that he could not accept. The child Sophia was carrying was not his. But it belongs to that little puppy boyfriend. The incident happened suddenly and a conflict broke out among the three people. David was accidentally pushed down the stairs. All the evidence was found out, the little boy was arrested and sentenced, and Sophia was also held jointly responsible and was detained. I shook my head, not knowing what to say to David. He thought he had found a beautiful bride, but he himself became Wu Dalong. Oh, life. At this time Ava walked over from a distance with a gentle smile on her face. I smiled back at her, quickly stepped forward and hugged her in my arms. No matter what, they brought this upon themselves, and they will have to bear any consequences. I'd better live my own life. Not to mention, Ava's body smells pretty good and is pretty soft.